Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 23 female, have been in and out of the hospital a lot over the years because of a chronic illness I've had since I was a kid. My dad, 48 male, has always been super supportive and tries to be there for me whenever I have to go through treatments or surgeries. I recently had to undergo a major surgery, and my recovery was no joke. It was really hard, and I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. Dad stayed with me for most of that time, but a couple of days before I was discharged, he had to leave for a work trip. He's a business consultant, so his job has him traveling all over the place, and sometimes he just can't get out of it. He was super apologetic about not being there to pick me up from the hospital, but I totally understood. Besides, my stepmom, 45 female, was supposed to handle things while he was gone. For a little background, my stepmom and I have never really gotten along. She married my dad when I was 16, and things have always been tense between us. I try to be civil, but I know she doesn't really like me. She's always done and said things to make me feel like I was in the way of her relationship with my dad. She also thinks I look too much like my mom, who passed away when I was 10. By the way, my stepmom hates that I look like my mom, because she thinks it's a reminder for my dad about his ex. Yeah, I know she sounds insane, but at the end of the day, my dad loved her and I respected that, which was why I tolerated a lot of her behavior. Anyway, after I was discharged from the hospital, I finally came home. I was exhausted but relieved to be out of the hospital. I walked into my room, and at first everything seemed normal. I laid on my bed to relax and ended up taking a nap. When I woke up, I decided to spruce up my room a little bit, and that's when I noticed something was off. I guess I was too exhausted to notice how empty my room looked, because I quickly realized that a lot of things were missing. Like seriously, a lot of things. I started freaking out. I thought that maybe there was a break-in or something. I started running from room to room and searching for anything that might still be there. I mean, I was barely able to stand up because I was still so weak from my surgery, but I was desperate. It became clear pretty quickly that everything that was missing was things that belonged to my mom. I had this old jewelry box of hers, some framed photos, a bunch of letters she had written to me when I was younger, and a few other sentimental things. They usually stayed on my dresser or my nightstand, but that day they were all gone. I checked the storage closet where we kept some of my mom's old stuff, like her clothes, and a few antique pieces from her family, and it was all gone. Literally everything. I couldn't believe it. I immediately confronted my stepmom. I did my best to stay calm with her. I asked her if she had moved anything from my room. She looked at me with this smug smile. She then casually told me that she had taken care of some of my things and that I didn't need to worry about any of those things anymore. I felt my heart drop to my stomach. I knew that my stepmom had always had a thing against my mother, but I prayed over and over again that the most she'd done was put my mom's things in a storage unit somewhere further from where we lived. I continued to ask my stepmom what she'd done with my things, but she just continued to give me this smug smile. Eventually, I lost my head and started screaming at her to tell me what she'd done. That's when she laughed and told me that she had burned everything that belonged to my mom. That shut me up so fast because of how shocked I was. I couldn't even process it. When I finally managed to ask her why she would do something like that, she just said that my dad and she had been wanting to move on with their lives, and this was the best way apparently. She said that my dad didn't need reminders of his old life. I tried to argue with her and tell her that she made the worst mistake of her life and that my dad would not be happy with what she did. She just laughed at me and told me that she knew him better than I did and that he'd be happy that she burned my mom's stuff for their relationship. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was so angry and upset that I could barely speak. I was shaking and trying not to cry, but the tears just came. It was like I was grieving my mom all over again. I couldn't believe that someone could be so cruel. I just kept thinking about all the things I'd lost. Everything I had left of my mom was gone. I became too weak at that point. I was too overwhelmed. I left my stepmom standing there and walked to my room. I cried for a good while before deciding to call my dad. Unfortunately for me, He was in the middle of a meeting. When he finally answered, he sounded super distracted and busy. I tried explaining to him what had happened, but I could tell he wasn't really paying attention. He said something about dealing with it when he got back home before hurriedly hanging up. I felt so helpless. The next few days were the longest of my life. I was heartbroken, angry, and alone in that house with my stepmom, who acted like she hadn't done anything wrong. She made sure to keep bringing up the fact that she had done my dad a huge favor. She constantly also told me that it was time for me to move on and grow up from my childish obsession with my mom. She made sure to taunt me every chance she could. I don't know how I got through those days, but I somehow managed to wait it out until my dad came back. When my dad finally came home from his trip, I was waiting for him. I told him everything again, and this time he actually listened. At first, he didn't believe me. He thought there was some kind of misunderstanding, or that my stepmom was simply pulling some mean prank. But I took him into my room, and then to our storage space, and he grew pale when he saw all of it empty. My mom was the love of his life. They had met when they were 10. A lot of the things that my stepmom burned had been my dad's and mom's childhood. Even though my dad had moved on and married my stepmom, those belongings were a huge part of his memories with my mom. They were priceless to him, and to see it all gone hit him hard. He confronted my stepmom, and she tried to play it off like it wasn't a big deal. When she saw how agitated my dad was getting, she even said I had brainwashed him into thinking it was important, when really she was just helping him move on. My dad lost it. I've never seen him that angry before, and if there's one thing you should know about my dad, it's that he's a really chill guy. It takes a lot to get him angry. My stepmom clearly did not think that her actions would lead to him getting angry, and she was terrified. My dad told her right then and there that he wanted a divorce. He told her that he wanted her to pack her things and leave. My stepmom tried to argue that it was her house too, and that my dad couldn't kick her out. But my dad told her that the house was his way before he met her, and that if she didn't leave in 24 hours, he would call his lawyer and make sure she left his house. My stepmom left the house in a huff, and my dad and I grieved the loss of my mom's stuff together. My dad was furious, and he decided to make my stepmom's life a nightmare. After talking to his lawyer, my dad decided to file a lawsuit against my stepmom for property destruction and emotional distress. My dad really wanted her to pay for what she had done. Emotionally, he was devastated, and he wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions. My stepmom, of course, flipped out. She couldn't believe that my dad was actually siding with me. She kept trying to blame me. She said that I had manipulated him and turned him against her, but my dad wasn't having any of it. He was furious that she had destroyed the last reminders of his first marriage and of the woman he truly loved. He couldn't even look at my stepmom now. The divorce is happening and the lawsuit is in full swing. My stepmom is fighting it, but her chances of winning are slim. She's been trying to act like the victim and has told anyone who will listen that I'm the one who ruined everything by holding on to the past. A few of my stepmom's relatives have reached out to me and have told me that I was immature for interfering in my dad and stepmom's relationship, but like I didn't do anything. My dad would have found out that my mom's things were missing eventually, and my stepmom would have faced the same consequences. My stepmom's relatives have been texting me about how much my stepmom has been struggling, and they keep blaming it on me. I know I did nothing wrong, but I guess the grief that I'm feeling is messing with my head. I just need somebody who's not part of my situation to tell me that I did nothing wrong. So, am I an idiot for telling my dad that my stepmom burned all of my late mother's things? Absolutely not an idiot. What OP's stepmother did was not just cruel, it was unhinged. Burning someone else's belongings, especially items belonging to a deceased parent, is beyond jealousy or insecurity. That was calculated emotional violence. OP didn't interfere in her dad's marriage. She detonated it herself. OP's dad didn't divorce her because of OP. He divorced her because he realized he married someone capable of erasing his past and traumatizing his child without remorse. Anyone defending her is either missing the full story or just as emotionally broken as she is. And now let's hear community's opinion. Your stepmother committed literal property destruction and emotional abuse while you were recovering from major surgery. The fact that she waited until your dad was gone tells you everything you need to know. She knew exactly what she was doing. You didn't cause the divorce. You exposed behavior that was already there. If your dad hadn't found out now, he would have found out later, and the outcome would have been the same. Grief can make you doubt yourself, but objectively speaking, you did the only reasonable thing. I'm so sorry. Reading this made my chest hurt for you. Losing your mom once was devastating enough. Having the last physical pieces of her destroyed feels like losing her all over again. You didn't overreact. You didn't exaggerate. You didn't manipulate anyone. You were honest about something horrific that was done to you while you were vulnerable. Your dad choosing you and choosing accountability doesn't make you selfish. It makes him a good father. Please don't let her family gaslight you into carrying guilt that isn't yours. Let me be blunt. Your stepmother is dangerous. Not mean, not petty. Dangerous. Anyone who can destroy irreplaceable memories and then smile about it is not a safe person to live with, especially for someone chronically ill and recovering from surgery. Your dad filing a lawsuit isn't revenge, it's consequences. As for her relatives, block them. They're upset because she finally faced repercussions. You didn't ruin a marriage. You survived abuse and told the truth. Update 1. Hey everyone, I wanted to give you all an update on the situation because things have escalated big time. When I first posted, I was still in shock from what my stepmom did. But let me tell you that this lawsuit is becoming an absolute nightmare for her. And honestly, I have zero sympathy. My dad is not holding back. He's determined to make her pay, and it's going worse for her than she ever imagined. The legal process has been moving fast, and it turns out that my stepmom had no idea what she was walking into. Some of the things she burned weren't just sentimental trinkets. They were incredibly valuable. Most of the things she burned were antique mementos passed down from my mom's side of the family. They were part of a collection that had been in the family for generations. A couple of pieces like an old watch and a set of vintage jewelry were worth thousands. While that itself is unfortunate for my stepmom, it gets worse because it turns out that those antiques were insured. My mom's family took great care of them, so they had insurance policies tied to their value. When my dad realized this, it gave him even more leverage in the lawsuit. Now my stepmom isn't just facing emotional distress claims, she's also looking at a major property destruction case with hard evidence of financial loss. The fact that these items were destroyed makes her responsible for paying back their full value. And let's just say she does not have that kind of money. The insurance company is also coming after her now. Since my dad filed a claim, they've started their own investigation and they're siding with him completely. My stepmom can't wiggle out of this one. If she thought she could just destroy these things and walk away, she was dead wrong. My dad's lawyers have been on top of every detail and have made sure that she's backed into a corner. It's honestly brutal to watch, but after everything she's done, she deserves every bit of it. The divorce is moving quickly too, and thank God my dad was smart enough to make her sign a prenup before they got married. That's been a huge help because it means that she's not walking away with much. She tried to contest it at first, but her lawyer straight up told her that she did not have a case. The prenup is airtight, so all the assets my dad had before and after they got married are staying with him. That means no fancy house, no luxury car, and no access to any of my dad's money for my stepmom. She's panicking, and I know all about it because she's been blowing up my phone every single day. Every time I block her, she finds a way to text me again. She sends me these long texts where she just rants about how I ruined her life. It's almost funny how she keeps trying to make herself look like the victim. According to her, I brainwashed my dad into divorcing her, and now she's paying the price for something that wasn't her fault. She keeps saying she was just trying to help by burning my mom's things, and now everything is falling apart because I couldn't let it go. She's also been telling me all about how her life is crumbling, and honestly, I can't bring myself to be sympathetic or to even care. Apparently, people in her social circle are starting to distance themselves from her. She always cared a lot about appearances, so losing her reputation has been a huge blow. She's gone from hosting fancy dinners and brunches to being completely ghosted by her so-called friends. From what I've heard, a lot of people are siding with my dad, especially since they know how much my mom's belongings meant to him. No one's buying her sob story about doing it for the family. The financial hit is already starting to hurt her too. With the lawsuit dragging on and the prenup blocking her from getting any of my dad's assets, She's losing her grip on the lifestyle she was so proud of. Even her fancy car was leased through my dad's company, and he canceled it the moment the divorce papers were filed. So she's been ranting to me about how she looks like a pathetic loser because she has to take public transport everywhere, and it's all my fault that she's in that position. From what she's been telling me, because she just won't stop texting me, she's desperate. She's trying to find a new place to live, but doesn't have the money for anything close to the lifestyle she's used to. She could obviously settle for something cheaper, but she refuses to live, and I quote, below what she deserves. She even tried to guilt-trip my dad into letting her stay in our house until she gets back on her feet. But he wasn't having it. She's furious about the prenup, the lawsuit, the house, and everything. And every single time something went wrong for her, I got a text about how it was all my fault. She's really losing it. I've heard from a mutual acquaintance that she's been calling in favors and trying to get people to take her side, but no one's biting. Most people know what she did now, and they don't want anything to do with her. Honestly, it's kind of satisfying to watch her fall apart after everything she put me through. She thought she could just waltz in, burn my mom's things, and act like she did us a favor. Now she's losing everything. Meanwhile, my dad is holding up pretty well through all of this. I think he's still heartbroken over what happened. He loved my mom so much, and the things she left behind were really special to him. Not to mention, he lost my stepmom, who was the new love of his life, all in one go. Granted, my stepmom is still around, but he's still very upset and hurt that things turned out this way. He's channeling all that anger and hurt into making sure stepmom pays for what she did. His lawyers are doing an amazing job, and every day it feels like we're one step closer to getting some kind of closure. I don't know how long the lawsuit will drag on, but it's already clear that it's going to ruin her financially. Between the property destruction claims, the insurance company coming after her, and the divorce moving forward, she's going to be left with nothing. I'll keep you guys updated as more happens, but for now things are definitely moving in the right direction. It feels good to know that justice is being served. Update 2. Hey everyone, time for another update, and things just keep getting crazier. I didn't think it was possible for my stepmom to dig herself a deeper hole, but here we are. So the lawsuit was already going pretty badly for her with the whole destruction of property and emotional distress claims. But now it's escalated even more. During the discovery phase of the lawsuit, which is basically where all the evidence gets collected, my dad's lawyers found something huge. Turns out my stepmom has been slowly but surely taking money from my dad's business for years. Apparently, she had access to some of the business accounts. When she withdrew money from them, she claimed that it was for household needs or expenses, and my dad trusted her enough to not question it. But when the lawyers started looking through the financials for the divorce, they found all these weird transfers. We're not talking about small amounts either. She was quietly pulling out thousands here and there. She used this money to fund her expensive lifestyle. My dad was never tipped off to how much exactly she had been spending on her luxury, because he never knew how much luxury items cost. He figured that my stepmom would be rational about her spending, but that was very wrong. When my dad found out, he was furious. He already felt betrayed by her for burning my mom's belongings. But finding out she'd been stealing from him, that was the final straw. What she did wasn't just sneaky, it was straight up fraud. She had no right to that money, and she'd been draining his accounts for personal use to keep up her lavish lifestyle. Now, on top of the property destruction case, she's facing a full-on fraud case. My dad is pressing charges for embezzlement, and things are getting real serious. Her lawyer is scrambling and trying to negotiate some kind of settlement. But my dad isn't having it. He doesn't want to settle. He wants her to face the full consequences of everything she's done. Honestly, I don't blame him, and I'm actually kind of proud of him. She's gotten away with so much for so long, and now it's all finally catching up to her. At this point, the lawsuit is about more than just the emotional damage and property she destroyed. It's about all the money she stole too. My dad's lawyers are absolutely killing it, and the case against her just keeps getting stronger. Every time I hear more updates on this case, I'm flabbergasted. I mean, I never would have guessed she was doing this. To be fair, I always knew she was selfish and manipulative, but I didn't think she was this shady. She was really good at keeping up appearances and acting like the perfect wife, while secretly taking money behind my dad's back. It's disgusting to think about, and now she's facing the possibility of jail time. Embezzling money is a serious crime, and if my dad's case goes the way it's looking, she could end up behind bars. It's so crazy to think that just a few months ago she was acting like she was untouchable, and now she's in a full-blown legal disaster. My dad's legal team is pushing for the fraud charges to stick, and since the money she took is well documented, there's no way she can talk her way out of this. Every bit of evidence they find just makes things worse for her. She's trying to make deals left and right, but no one's giving her an easy way out. Of course, she's still blowing up my phone and blaming me for all of it. She keeps saying that if I hadn't turned my dad against her, none of this would have happened. It's honestly pathetic at this point. She's refusing to take any responsibility and acting like she's the victim when she's the one who stole from him and ruined the things that were dear to him. Every day, it's another rant from her about how I ruined her life, and honestly, I don't even look at her texts anymore. But let me tell you, I feel a sense of relief that justice is finally being served. After everything she did to me, to my dad, and to my mom's memory, seeing her face the consequences feels like the closure I didn't know I needed. Watching her crumble and knowing that she's losing everything makes me feel both satisfied and like I'm living in an alternate universe. The divorce is still moving forward too, and it's basically a done deal at this point. The prenup has made it so much easier to get things sorted out, and my dad's going to keep all of his assets. My stepmom is still fighting tooth and nail to get anything she can, but with the fraud charges hanging over her, she doesn't have much leverage. I'm not sure how long the fraud case will take to go through the courts, but from what the lawyers are saying, it's not looking good for her. The property destruction lawsuit is still ongoing as well, but this new fraud case has totally shifted the focus. Now, instead of just losing money, she could actually lose her freedom. In the meantime, I've been trying to stay focused on my own healing. I'm still recovering from surgery, but it's hard not to get caught up in everything that's happening. This whole situation has been emotionally exhausting, but seeing her finally get what she deserves is helping me get through it. Anyway, that's where we're at now. My stepmom is in major legal trouble. The divorce is almost finalized, and my dad is making sure she doesn't get a single cent more than she deserves. I'll keep you guys updated as things progress, but for now, it feels like we're finally getting closer to some real justice. Thanks for all the support. It means the world. Update 3. Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last update. I think it's been close to 7 months, but I'm back with the final chapter in this whole nightmare. I'm just going to spoil it right out of the gate and tell you that all the legal stuff is finally over. And now let me tell you about the details. First off, let me get straight to the good part. The court ruled in favor of me and my dad on all accounts. Every single claim we made stuck, and the judge wasn't playing around. My stepmom has been ordered to pay back every penny she took from my dad's business. On top of that, the court hit her with major damages for destroying my mom's belongings. In total, the damages came out to an eye-watering amount. It's enough to leave her completely broke for a long, long time. Her fancy lifestyle is gone. No more designer bags, luxury vacations, or expensive cars. She's officially hit rock bottom. The divorce wrapped up around the same time as the lawsuit, and it was just as brutal. During the divorce proceedings, my stepmom tried to pull one final dirty move. She accused my dad of emotionally abusing her throughout their marriage, saying that's why she had no choice but to steal from him. She painted herself as this poor, mistreated wife who only took the money to survive. The audacity was unreal. Thankfully, my dad was prepared. His lawyers completely dismantled her claims. They had all kinds of evidence showing that my stepmom was living the high life on his dime the entire time they were married. There were so many receipts showing that she spent most of the money she took on vacations, designer clothes, and expensive spa treatments. Not exactly what you'd call survival needs. The judge didn't buy a word of her sob story. In fact, it backfired spectacularly. Instead of winning any sympathy, the court saw it as just another attempt to manipulate the system. Her credibility took a nosedive, and it only made her fraud case look worse. As for the fraud, yeah, she's facing serious consequences. She tried to negotiate a lighter sentence or some sort of settlement, but the prosecutors were having none of it. She was charged with embezzlement, and while she managed to avoid jail time through a plea deal, lucky her, she now has to pay restitution on top of the damages from the civil suit. She's also on probation for a few years, which means she'll be under the court's thumb for a while. The best part was that the fraud case also made headlines in our local news, which was probably the final nail in her coffin. All of her dirty laundry got aired out for everyone to see. She had this image of being a polished, wealthy socialite, and now she's been exposed as a fraud and a thief. I have to say, it felt really satisfying to see her get taken down so publicly. She spent years looking down on me and acting like I was beneath her, and now everyone knows the truth about who she really is. Since the court rulings, she's been trying to rebuild her life, but from what I can tell, it's not going well. Initially, she scrambled to find work, but no one in our area would touch her with a 10-foot pole. I think she tried moving to a new district area to get a fresh start, but things aren't going well for her there either. She's living in a tiny apartment now and working a minimum wage job she clearly hates. At least that's what I gathered from the occasional messages she sends me. Yeah, she's still texting me even after everything. She sends me bitter messages every few weeks and blames me for ruining her life. It's almost funny at this point. Like, lady, you burned my mom's things, stole from my dad, and now you're the victim? Sure, okay. I mostly ignore her, but sometimes it's hard not to laugh at how delusional she sounds. As for me, I'm doing better. It's been a long road, but I'm healing both physically and mentally. My recovery is almost entirely completed. Mentally, I feel lighter. There were moments during this whole ordeal when I felt so overwhelmed. But now that it's over, it feels like I can finally breathe again. I still have tough days, especially when I think about how my mom's belongings can never be replaced, and I can never see them again. But knowing that my stepmom faced real consequences for her actions brings me some peace. Thank you to everyone who's followed along and supported me through this. Your kind words and advice really kept me going during some of the darkest times. I can't tell you how much it means to know that people had my back when everything felt like it was falling apart. That's it for now. Hopefully this is the last update I'll ever have to write about her. I'm closing this chapter of my life for good. Take care, everyone.